is this depression? Because this is the big thing that we don't understand, that some of us are depressed just because we're depressed? Or is there's a reason?
No, it's a lot of unresolved issues that layer on top of each other, and you haven't you haven't addressed it the right way. And you kind of take your feelings for granted, especially men. We as men kind of live in a world where it's quite hard for us anyway.
Because we don't express, you're saying.
We don't express ourselves and we don't talk about
And
stuff.
I'm hardly a man
process.
because I express myself all the time.
We don't process emotions.
So you're saying
very
that
well.
the baggage piles up, is it?
Yeah, it kind of layers on top of each other, and then you don't even acknowledge if something's right or wrong, or if everything's okay with you, and then you let enough time go by like that. And then we all have layers, right? Where everyone's got some form of. If you'd be very blessed if you live in a country like India and you don't have any baggage from your childhood, right? And we're today, I think, as parents, we're actively trying to,
So you're saying that all of us have cases of.
All of us have.
But we don't deal with it. We don't face it.
Yeah, when it's unresolved and it's not dealt with, when it's not confronted, when it's not acknowledged, and you live in denial of it, or you live in, say, in escapism of it. They kind of layer on top of each other and they start manifesting in different parts of your life. One is it could manifest as a physical ailment. Could be some form of cancer. It could be some form of illness, some back pain. So they say unforgiveness is stored in the back. Ooh. So if you have unforgiveness, and if you have a lot of back pain, like especially lower back pain, you should check if you have unforgiveness.
Abhi, our cameraman.
I can see him sitting very straight actually. So
you haven't let go and so it comes into the back.
It manifests in different forms. It can manifest in
I have pain in an organ which I don't want to discuss openly. But could you specifically tell me what I've done wrong?
I'll need to know specifics then.
I just allow a lot of people to handle it.
Maybe don't.
Thank you, doctor. Robin style. Yeah.
So
he's 26.
So a lot of unresolved issues kind of pile up, and then they kind of manifest either in physical ailments, or they'll manifest in your relationships. Could be your professional relationships, could be your personal relationships, could be romantic relationships. They begin to manifest.
So you were open with yourself in the sense that we aren't some men?
Yeah.
Or did somebody talk to you? How did you?
No, I just kind of, like, I got to a really dark place in my life where I was suicidal, where I was clinically depressed.
Sorry to ask this, but I can't understand that because you've been a pretty successful cricketer. I think at one time you were the highest paid.
Second highest paid
in one of the, if I remember correctly, IPLs.
Yeah.
10 crores or something for the time.
Doesn't make a difference, yeah, Cyrus.
No, so I'm saying, so then what was the upsetting factor?
I had a lot of issues growing up.
Okay, this is more childhood, is it?
Yeah, they were childhood based, and there were also current stuff going on and unresolved stuff.
Not
that
a big light with the traffic.
We didn't have those issues back then in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Those issues hadn't begun to happen back then.
But once you moved the airport, the trouble was starting.
Oh, yeah.
They decided to put the airport in Kerala, basically.
Yeah, and then they found one bottleneck that they made in the middle of the city.
Let's get back
anyway,
here. Huh.
So mom and dad had a tough marriage.
Okay.
And growing up, we kind of grew up in the midst of that. And I'm not saying they didn't do their best. They did their absolute best for both my sister and I that they could. With the tools they had and with the skills they had, they did the best they could do for us. They went above and beyond when it came to supporting us with whatever we needed support with. But just their marriage individually with each other was not the greatest. And that always kind of played up in every aspect of our lives, and a lot of unresolved stuff was going on there, and that kind of added in it. And when you grow up in that kind of a volatile atmosphere, there are a lot of things that become, the volatility becomes normal for you.
Oops.
Up and down emotions becomes normal to you. Because as a child, if that's what you've seen growing up, and that's what you've grown up in, that's your norm. And then without me knowing, I was volatile as a person. My moods were up and down.
Also the cricket field and
of course, because
profession.
that was my one avenue of expression where I could be myself. And so what I thought was normal was mad to other people.
Sorry to ask this, but as a young Kurgi man, you're allowed a gun?
No, not.
You aren't.
I wasn't violent at all.
Yeah.
I just was very. I wasn't violent. I was never violent. But I was aggressive by nature. My batting was also
Short-tempered.
Yeah, short-tempered. I wasn't a good leader. I was someone who wanted to win, and I'd take it on myself, and I would expect everyone to meet the same standards. And I wasn't the leader who met people where they are and helped them elevate them to where they needed to be for the team to attain success. And good and great leaders actually do that. So growing up, I wasn't a good leader, and then so. And I still was, I was up and down, and I had a lot of issues, and so I was very moody as an individual, but also wanted to live a very happy life, and I was very aspiring as a youngster. I've always aspired to be the best that I can be the best cricketer, be the best son, be the best friend that I can be the best boyfriend, or whatever, right? But the up and down swings were a norm for me, and then I was going through life very. What's the word? Unconsciously.
Without addressing all this.
Yeah, and without even knowing that these were issues, right? And that need to be addressed, and because it wasn't normal, and and the aspirations was to have a very normal and great life, but I hadn't even known that there were things that were wrong, and then first to even know that okay, there's something wrong, and it's only when I was I found myself on. The first time I realized that something was wrong was in 2009. In 2008 is when I got dropped from the Indian team after the Asia Cup in 2008. And I knew that the IPL had just begun, so the competition is going to be a lot more. Then I have to work a lot harder because Yusuf and Suresh and all just came back. Suresh came back into the fray, and then Yusuf came into the fray in 2008 after an incredible IPL. So I knew that my competition as a finisher, because they were looking at me as a finisher, opener, I was like a floater up and down.
Yeah.
So in the 49, 50 games that I played for India in ODIs, every third innings I was in a different position. Also one of the reasons I couldn't secure myself into that side because I left myself open to be used
up and
anywhere.
down, yeah.
But nonetheless, I got dropped, and then I had time between July and November, and at home finances were always an issue within the marriage, and so I was like, okay, let me get into this whole thing and help them figure it out. And we'd just gotten money like we'd never gotten.
Correct.
Like my first IPL gig was 3.2 crores in 2008.
Wow.
That was massive money back then.
That's rubbing it in now.
No.
They're in a podcast job.
I'm just saying it for context, guys. I don't mean to offend anybody.
Now
I'm
everyone's
sorry.
depressed. Robin, what have you done? Everyone's, guys, start drinking.
So we thought that, okay, a lot of that stuff will be mitigated, in that period of time. We'll resolve everything and focus completely on my comeback from November onwards, when the Ranji Trophy begins. And how those 4 months became 4 years, I don't even know. Because I got lost because I got into the details of their relationship and tried to resolve it. And I ended up becoming a really bitter person where I just changed. Like, one of the things about me and growing up and why I chose cricket, and as a team sport, I chose a team sport. Even though my parents made me play an individual sport first. They made me play tennis first. Yeah. But I picked cricket because I love the fact that you could bring 15 people together to achieve one common goal.
You have a little tribe working together.
Yeah, like a tribe, and you work as a team. And I love that I could add value to a team. And I went through a life experience where I recognized or realized what my purpose was in life at a very young age. So it was a very conscious decision to play a team sport because I want to add value, and I want to be a great team man. I want to help my teammates. I want to perform really well. I want to win matches for my team. That was genuinely the mindset I played cricket with. And to this day, that's how I play cricket. And for me, I want to serve my team. And if you look at my career, you'll see mota, that's how I played my career. That's how my career has panned out even. I always put the team ahead of me, And in that time, one thing I saw was that I remember it was one Ranji Trophy match, and I was eked out of my own being at that point, where I'm like, yuck. Like, that was in 2011 when that happened. And I went the 2010, end of 2010 when that happened. I went the entire 2011 where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't look at myself in my eye. I just detested myself because I saw my progress in the failure of my teammates within the sport. And I was like, that's not who I want to be. That is not who I am. And I couldn't get out of that rut. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. Everything just felt wrong. But if I have to rewind back a little bit, in 2009 is when I realized that something was wrong with me. I went to the 2009 IPL in South Africa, and then there was an episode where I found myself sitting off the windowsill of the 23rd floor of my room, and I'm someone who's absolutely scared of heights. So for me, it was like a thought went through my head where I thought you could end all this at the count of 3, and then I was like, then I think my conscious or subconscious mind kicked in and was like, what are you? And then suddenly I saw myself sitting there, and I was like, I got scared. I'm like, why? How am I sitting here? And why am I sitting here? Immediately got into my room, closed the window, called my mom up. As tenacious as things were at home, I called my mom up and said, I need you guys here. Something's wrong with me. I need you guys here. So I flew my parents, my sister down to South Africa, and they spent a couple of weeks with me, and they knew that something was wrong. And so they spent that time with me. And as soon as I got back, I had an aunt who unfortunately passed away with cancer a few years after that. So she was someone who was very, very special to me. And I adore her. Her name was Leela Auntie. I used to call her Leela Auntie. So Leela Auntie basically spoke to my mum, and they both felt that I should go to a counselor. And then that's when I first went to a counselor and then started seeking help. And that's when I realized that, man, there's something wrong. And 3 months of just working with this counselor. I got lucky, Cyrus. I met an absolute dream of a counselor in my first go. And she empowered me, and she asked me the right questions, made me ask myself the right questions, and kind of set me on course, right? And then I felt really empowered, so much so that my mum was like, something's off. You don't seem like you're I'm like, I'm actually much better than I have been in the last year or so. And once I started feeling empowered, the mistake I did was I stopped going to her. So I felt like I'm fine now.
Like it's a cure. There's no cure.
There's, and then it's not about a cure. Like, you will get better, but it's not like an antibiotic course. Yeah. It's not like you finish the course.
You have to keep at it, right?
You have to keep at it.
No, as in even with the therapy or whatever you want to call it, you have to keep at it.
Yeah. So for the, like, you use them as and when you need them. Like, you have a good life coach or a good counselor, a good psychologist or a psychiatrist. Like, you need to find one good person, and it's like forming a relationship and finding a professional friend who is in your corner, will ask you the right questions. And I actually made a video as to how to find a good counselor. Like, what are the standards by which you find a good counselor? Because I found one, and I see a lot of people navigating through this whole aspect of trying to find counselors, and they don't find the right ones. And generally, good counselors, good life coaches, good psychologists are people who listen and don't offer you solutions, but actually ask you the right questions to help you figure out your own answers and empower you with the confidence to sort out your own life.
So basically almost talking to yourself.
Yeah.
They're just there.
They're just there, asking you. And so the whole process of it, at least when I was going to it, my mom was like, let's not tell anyone you're going to a counselor.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And because at that point, the exposure to it was so less that if you went to a counselor or a
What's
mental
wrong
health,
with the guy and all,
a mental health expert, you were considered mad. You're considered something's off.
Nobody would do it up to maybe 10 years ago, I don't think, openly.
Yeah, nobody would. Yeah. And so the reason I speak about this so much, and especially with men, I talk about it so much, is because men die a lot more by suicide than women do. Well, I'm sorry to burst your
Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do I have a joke now?
Because we have a lot of unresolved issues, and we don't speak about stuff that easily. We're taught to be stoic. We are said boys don't cry.
We don't like unloading the way we're brought up.
And the thing is, yes, I understand why we don't do that, but I don't think that is what makes you a man. I think what makes you truly masculine is to actually have time and space for everything. There is time and space to be strong. There is time and space to be stoic. There is time and space to be in charge and lead. There is time and space. You have to create the time and space to be vulnerable. The amount of strength it takes to be stoic and strong and a leader and all of that strength is created here in vulnerability, because you unload here.
Yeah.
You create a vacuum of space and time to express your feelings, and then come back to being stoic, come back to being strong, because that's where you derive your strength from, and that's what true masculinity is. And I think there's we've gone to two different versions of masculinity now, which is in two extremes. It doesn't have to be this, but it doesn't have to be toxic also.
Correct.
Right? You have to find a happy medium. And the happy medium, it's like a seesaw, yeah? You go on one extreme, then you go on the other extreme, but the only way to find balance is in the middle. So find something that works for you, where you can express yourself whilst at the same time going back and being a man in a man's world.
I don't go to professional, but I have what is called an AEW. Anybody else's wife. So I just find myself more open with them for some reason. Is that wrong?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But it
as long as it works for you.
it works for me. Doesn't work for the marriage so much.
No, then that's an issue. As long as you're clear about it.
Yeah.
I believe...
Well, now I've gone and mentioned it. It was okay till now.